Welcome to the Michael Kouly Podcast on rethinking leadership. In these episodes, we will look at leadership with a fresh perspective and take your leadership effectiveness to the next level. For more information, go to KoulyInstitute.com and follow Michael's continuous learning insights on social media.
So in the previous episode, we talked about how leadership has been misused, abused, overused, and how there's a complete chaos about this notion and how people are confused about what leadership really is. And we talked about the importance of rethinking leadership by going to the core of this meaning, to its soul, to its heart, to discover what it really means, right? And start from there and start constructing this concept based on solid, scientific, genuine, authentic foundations that answer to its that reflect its core meaning, or reflect at least the purpose of its existence. And we talked about how at the core of leadership is this core concept, the fact that this revelation, or the fact that life is driven, all forms of life, living organisms, let me call them, are driven instinctively by the purpose of survival and growth, whether from the single cell organism to a family, company, society, and even a country. And we said how leadership at core is about mobilizing people and organizations and groups and societies so that they can face their toughest challenges, biggest problem, and solve them and overcome these challenges so that they can at least guarantee or ensure their survival, their continuity, and fulfill, at least create growth, move forward, create prosperity, thrive. What I'm going to talk about in this episode is the concept of growth. Now, different people have different concepts of growth based on their background. And what I want to emphasize on is that we have different layers of growth, and all of these together constitute what growth with a big G means for us. Growth could mean becoming healthier. So to grow in the concept of health, in the dimension of health, it means to become a healthy human being. So leadership in this aspect is how do you mobilize people or yourself or your family or others to live a lifestyle that makes them healthier. So growth in this aspect is about health. Growth could also mean financial growth. So how do you mobilize people and organizations and companies and economies so that more financial wealth is created, so that people have the means to live with a higher living standard and have the means to explore more, do more research, raise their living standard. It can also mean, from a corporate perspective, growth in market share. It could also mean growth in profits. It could also mean growth in reputation, in branding. It could also mean growth, geographical growth. You name it. As long as it's a growth that's desirable in the sense that it makes the company better, the organization better, then that's the growth that we are talking about. Survival and growth in that aspect is how do you stay alive and how do you grow on any or on all of these dimensions. Growth could be in the sense that having a happier and healthier family. So growth at the family level means how do you mobilize yourself and how you mobilize your family, right? So that you and your family have a more enjoyable journey of living. Growth at the relational level means how do you build nourish and sustain relationship that would enrich the parties that constitute this relationship. Growth at sort of an artistic level means how can you further develop your talent so that your talent is more polished, so that whatever you're creating becomes more beautiful or a more accurate expression of what you're trying to say or to do or to create. Growth could be spiritual growth, which means how do you mobilize people, how do you mobilize yourself so that they become more in touch with their core humanity, their understanding of the existential questions of life itself, the way they make meaning of life is better and deeper, and the relationship with their spiritual aspect, their faith, their system of belief is stronger and deeper and better in a way that would give them more peace in their life, would comfort them more during the hardships of life. Growth for a country could be economic growth, could be growth in their feeling of safety and security through the growth of their let's say military capabilities to protect the country against external danger or against internal danger. So there are so many aspects in growth. Bottom line, growth, the way I'm defining it, is growth that makes life better. Growth that makes life more dignified, whether to you as a person, whether to you as a family, whether to you as a department, team, organization, economy, country, even humanity itself. So as you can see, it's value driven, it is purpose driven, it's not abstract, it's not absolute, right? Now, do we have to make it this way? We don't have to make it this way at all. I mean, you can define it the way you want. But I ask myself, what kind of leadership do I want my children to learn? What kind of leadership do I want my children to live under, let's say? What kind of a country with a leadership mentality that I would like my children sort of to grow at? And my answer to myself is that I want my kids to live in a place where whoever are exercising leadership understand that the purpose of leadership is to make life better, to everybody. Because if you don't make life better to everybody, then you have conflicts, you have inequality, you have people who are feeling unfairly treated, marginalized, and in the end it will create conflict. And when there's conflict, everybody loses. At least people live in tension, right, in stress, and sometimes in war, and bad things happen. And when bad things happen, then the concept of survival, which is a core concept, then doesn't stand anymore. Why? Because how can you talk about guaranteed survival? How can you ensure your survival if there is conflict, right? So that's why I say leadership is a normative word. It's not a cognitive word. We're not talking about 1 + 1 = 2. That cannot be argued. Leadership is like a vessel, like a vase. You can put any kind of flower you can put in. You can in it. It's like a cup, like a mug. You can put coffee in it. You can put juice, and you can put poison. Now, my choice, because we have the privilege of choosing what kind of meaning to load, into this word. What kind of meaning should this word carry? What kind of leadership we should be teaching to our kids? My choice is that it has to be the kind of leadership that would ensure their survival and their growth. It has to be the kind of leadership that would create a mindset that things should go to the better. That when you mobilize people in an organization, you mobilize them based on values that create beauty for everybody. Now, is it idealistic? You can say it's idealistic. But what's wrong of being idealistic? What's wrong in aspiring to be idealistic? Am I sure this will happen? Of course it will not happen, because we're far from being perfect. and everybody makes mistakes, and sometimes we mess it up big time, and good people do silly things, so is it guaranteed? Of course not guaranteed, but we need to lay the foundation. I mean, nobody in my mindset at least, if people have good intentions, an architect or a builder would not construct a building with a mindset that it could be, it doesn't matter if it's fragile to earthquake. In my mind, this doesn't make sense. I'm assuming that when architects and civil engineers and builders, build a tower, they build it in a way, right, that it can stand, it can accommodate or tolerate earthquakes, so that it could stay standing. So they build it on the right foundation. It's the same. It's exactly the same kind of. It's the same approach when it comes to leadership. The kind of leadership that we should teach, or we should create, or we should promote, is the leadership that aspires the best values, that really focuses on creating beauty, that's inclusive, that tries to make life better for everybody, even if it doesn't succeed. Of course, it's important to succeed, but even if it doesn't succeed, right? But at least that should be the foundation. Otherwise, why are we teaching leadership? Then, in my mind, that's not leadership anymore. It's actually manipulation. So mobilizing people in the way that you want them to go, in direction that you want them to go, for purposes that maybe serve, your interest or somebody's interest at the expense of somebody else. And in my mind, that's not leadership, because it's short term. People are not stupid. Time changes, and there will be one day that whoever lost this time will gain power and try to get even tomorrow. And this is not sustainable. This is not the kind of life that we want. That leadership should adopt. Real leadership should adopt. This is not the kind of life that I would want my children to have, or society where I would like my children to live. The leadership that I'm talking about, that we should promote everywhere, in all aspects of society, is inclusive leadership. Is leadership that is focused on, how do we create a dignified life for all, to the best of our abilities, knowing that we might, maybe fail more than we succeed. But that's the nature of things. But at least we have laid the right foundation.
Thank you for listening to the Michael Kouly Podcast. Please visit KoulyInstitute.com and send us an email. We would love to hear your comments and thoughts on this episode. And remember to follow Michael's continuous learning insights on social media.